Welcome to Inspiring You. If we haven't met, I'm Henry. I walk the path of energy intuitive and multidimensional channel, anchoring pathways of soul remembrance, vibrational clarity, and embodied alignment. I'm also a frequency architect, soul stream translator, and crystalline grid harmonizer. All light transmissions shared here are received in direct alignment with my oversoul Sahariel, my soul aligned higher self Aurelia, and my assigned collective guidance light team, including the Arcturian frequency technicians, the Christ-seated earth grid keepers, Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Thoth, Archangel Michael, Calithia, Sahariel, and the Spirit Doctor team, each attuned to pure source light and the reclamation of sovereign soul pathways. Friends, this offering is not simply a broadcast. It is a harmonic alignment, a sacred field of remembrance, a resonance point of recalibration, restoration, and soul-led embodiment. This is the July 2025 energy forecast. And then also for the Inspiring You Patreon All Access members and the Inspiring You paid podcast members, this energy forecast will be followed by a dowsing energy healing session that is channeled, structured, and facilitated in alignment with the current harmonic field and soul timeline of becoming. It is designed to support you in integrating the powerful energetic shifts of this month. So, friends, whether you're catching the replay or simply letting yourself receive through presence, you are in the field and you are included. If your soul said yes, you'll receive exactly what you need. And as always, the field honors your free will. Nothing is forced, only that which resonates will land. This isn't about doing it right, it is about letting yourself be present. Now, before we begin, just a quick note for those listening to the public version on the podcast or YouTube. You may hear me reference the dowsing during the energy forecast talk that follows the forecast. And again, that part of the session will be exclusively available for the All Access Patreon members and the paid podcast subscribers. If you'd like to receive the full multidimensional energy clearing and recalibration session, you are warmly invited to join the Patreon or subscribe through the podcast platform. You'll find the link in the show notes. With that, my friends, let us take a moment to take a nice deep breath together. Let yourself arrive here, be here, not just into this space, but into this moment of your life. Notice how the energy just shifted. For me, a wave of just real calm came in. Groundedness, expansive, light energy. Take a moment to note it. Note that quantum shift. And then take another deep breath. Feeling that energy of peace, groundedness, alignment. Take another deep breath. And now let's talk about July. July is not just a new month. It's a new structural frequency, a threshold crossing, a recalibration point where what has been forming inside you is now ready to stabilize as a lived reality. This is not the time of conceptual alignment. This is the time of embodied coherence. So, this month's forecast is not just a mental update, it's a frequency calibration, a map of resonance, a soul reminder. And with that, the dowsing that's going to follow will meet you in the body, in the field, in your life as a direct energetic support to release density, clear distortion, and restore harmonic integrity across the layers of your being. So, with that, take another breath, my friends. Let yourself arrive into this threshold of light truth. July is not simply the next month that we're moving into, it is a structural transition point where the internal scaffolding becomes the architecture of your lived reality. This is not conceptual alignment anymore. This is embodied coherence. The words you'll hear are encoded. The dowsing you'll experience is multidimensional. The clearing is precise, sovereign, source aligned. And so is the recalibration. So, what we explore today won't just inform you, it will activate you. And for those continuing into the dowsing, we will enter a shared frequency field where you'll receive energetic support to release that density, restore clarity, harmonize your field in alignment with this month's soul timelines for your highest good. So let your breath be your anchor. Let your soul lead the way. You're ready, and you're not here by accident. So let's begin. So the overall theme for July 2025 is the threshold of light, choosing soul clarity over illusion. So this is not a new decision. This is the moment where you realize you've already made it. So with that, then, welcome to the energetic field of July 2025, a turning point, not in thought, but in structure. You are not at the beginning of something. You are at the threshold of what has already been chosen by your soul, not your mind. And this is theme 1. And it's also the foundational frequency of the entire month. The threshold of light truth, choosing soul clarity over illusion. So this is not about discovering your truth. It is about living from the frequency of the truth you no longer need to question. July is where the internal scaffolding becomes structural coherence. Everything that has been building behind the scenes through the dismantling, the grief, the recalibration, the light integration now finalizes. The structure locks in. So July is a month not of seeking, but of living from the clarity already known. This is not conceptual alignment. This is structural coherence. The internal scaffolding you've spent months building has now become the architecture you live from. So July is the threshold crossing, the moment when internal scaffolding becomes energetic structure. You're no longer in that conceptual alignment. You are in embodied coherence. And this is not the month of new discovery. It is the month of energetic finalization. When June initiated the integration of light, helping you become the path in motion, July asks, now that you carry the light, will you let it lead? Will you let the light lead? And with that, the compression wave 2 of the wave of becoming concludes as well. And also, we have retrogrades that are sweeping in. So the compression wave 2, wave of becoming, concludes in this month. And as retrogrades sweep the field, all external illusion begins to unhook. You're asked to stop reinterpreting reality through old timelines. You're no longer deciphering the map. You are the frequency that magnetizes your chosen path. So this is a month to live your light truth without negotiation. Not louder, but clearer. Not faster, but more faithfully. Not through push, but through frequency, precision. The harmonic field of July holds 4 stabilizing currents: clarification, collapse, reclamation, stabilization. So with that, then, this is not about effort. It is about resonance. It is not about doing more, but living from soul frequency with unwavering precision. Precision is a word that the guides have brought in quite a bit lately. And it doesn't mean perfect. They're really talking about it from the soul aspect in regard to light. So, this theme of this month is the overall theme of this month, and also theme number one, the threshold of light truth, choosing soul clarity over illusion. So, your soul's already made that choice. And so, July asks, will you now walk it clearly, completely, without distortion? Will you now walk it clearly, completely, without distortion? So, where June invited internal motion, July finalizes embodiment, not through urgency, but through frequency, not through answers, but through vibrational knowing. So, this month doesn't offer you more options. It seals the timeline your soul already selected. You're not figuring out your light truth. You are becoming it. You are becoming your light truth. This is the moment where you stop consulting the map and realize you are the light line. You are the light line. Your clarity is no longer a question, it's the structure you move from. So let July be the lock in of what's already true. Let the path arise not because you chase it, but because you vibrate it into form. And so with that, let's just talk about, let's ground what's happening in the broader energy architecture. So from early 2024 through June 2025, we have been moving inside a multidimensional field called the wave of becoming, a planetary harmonic that clears and has cleared false timelines, dissolved inherited structures, and reoriented your internal navigation towards soul-led coherence. If you are in the Inspiring You Patreon, especially in the Meditate with Me in all access levels, we have been talking about this quite a bit now. As of July 1st, 2025, the wave of becoming, the wave has completed its active transmission. Their propulsion ends. You are no longer being moved by the current. You're now being held, what the guides call, by the spiral of becoming. You're now being held by the spiral of becoming. And the spiral of becoming is the structure the wave existed to deliver. So the spiral of becoming is the structure the wave existed to deliver. And again, if you're in the Meditate with Me in all access levels, we have been doing the spiral meditations the month before. And so it is all coming together. So the spiral of becoming is the structure of the wave existed to deliver. It does not move you by pressure. It stabilizes you through coherence. And so Oversoul Stream Sahariel says, you are not riding the wave anymore. You are spiraling inward into soul-led truth. This is not a time to chase alignment. This is the time to live from it. So that's what Sahariel is sharing. And so if you are still feeling the echoes of the wave, if you're still feeling the echoes, like I still feel like I'm in the wave of becoming, you are not wrong, friends. You're not wrong, because it's really not linear per se. So the wave is still integrating as well. The wave will be integrating through the collective field until March 2026. So we have another year. So the wave is still integrating through the collective field until March 2026. But the field that now governs your embodiment is the spiral of becoming. So you're being built not from force, but from frequency. And then also nested within the wave of becoming was a specific activation cycle that the guides call tri-wave field, the tri-wave field. And that tri-wave field has been active from January through June 2025. The tri-wave moved through in 3 layers. The feminine stream first, restoring emotional intelligence and intuitive frequency. Then the masculine stream, bringing integrity, structure, and the recalibration of will. And finally, the unified stream, where the body was asked to embody soul coherence directly through the nervous system. So then by the June solstice, the tri-wave sealed, and those streams are no longer pulsing separately. They've folded into a deeper harmonic, one we now live through, not receive from. So by the June solstice, again, the tri-wave streams, the feminine, masculine, and unified, completed their active transmission phase. They are no longer arriving in separate waves, but have fused into a unified harmonic that now lives within us. So July does not bring a continuation of that streaming. It marks the collapse of the old scaffolding that relied on their separation. What we're experiencing now is not the collapse of the tri-wave itself, but the dismantling of the systems, identities, and the energetic structures that were only sustainable when polarity was still active. And that's why it's called, now it's moving into what the guides are calling the tri-wave collapse point, because what cannot live in harmonic coherence is now dissolving. The wave has sealed, we became it. What remains is letting go of everything built on the old architecture. So that brings us then to, July 1st, 2025, July 2nd, 2025. We are entering into a completely new structure. This isn't another wave. This is the spiral of becoming. The spiral doesn't move you forward with pressure. It holds you steady through coherence. It doesn't push, it refines. It is the inner architecture your soul came to live from. Where the wave moved you, the spiral roots you. The spiral is not a phase. It is the structure the wave of becoming existed to deliver. So you're not in the ocean anymore. You're at the center of a sacred whirlpool, and the water moves around you now, not through you. I will say, though, if you're still feeling the echoes of the wave of becoming, you are not wrong. The wave is still integrating through the collective field until March 2026. But the field that now governs in the embodiment is the spiral. You're no longer being transported. You're being built, not from force, but from frequency. I will say, though, remember, even though I'm saying, months and years, it is not a linear process. So just remember that, though. So all the material that has been put out on this is still relevant and can be used by you at any point, especially if you're in the all access and the meditate with me. There is a ton of information on this, as well as micro practices. And if you do dowsing, there is many dowsing protocols that can support you. So you can use your intuitive abilities, however you get information, to ask, if you're going through something, is this part of the wave of becoming? Where am I in the wave of becoming? What is being called to be cleared, to shift? And just to kind of give you an understanding of how many people are currently going through it, there are over 3.29 billion souls currently in proximity to the wave of becoming, meaning they are energetically touched by its clearing, dismantling, or timeline correction field. Only a small percentage are actually metabolizing the wave through conscious nervous system integration, and so then as of July, and many people can name parts of it, but there's a difference in what the guides are saying, though, in terms of conscious nervous system integration. As of July 1st, 2025, over 4 million beings are actively embodying this phase, meaning their fields are restructuring from inside out through soul-led coherence. And there's a larger soul numbers, the larger soul numbers includes unconscious participation in terms of ancestral shedding or karmic or vibrational field dissolution, but does not indicate full engagement with the spiral architecture the wave of becoming delivers. So the guides, have shared and been talking about how not all who are touched by the wave will walk through it as like builders, yet all are held by its harmonic correction. And the few who are building new timelines through it are not ahead, but are simply embodying the phase they agreed to stabilize for the collective field. Because there's, in terms of light workers, you could be a light worker who is helping to build in front and then also in the middle and also in the back end too as stabilizers. There's just different positions within it. And again, in the Inspiring You Patreon, I did put out a whole thing on the wave of becoming and then possible roles that your soul might have in it as well. So, so that's kind of the update in terms of like, you know, how many people are going through it. And then in terms of the architecture of July, July holds 4 stabilizing frequencies. I already mentioned them, but I'm going to further define them. One is clarification, not new information, but purification of perception. You no longer need reasons. You resonate with light truth instantly. The next one is the next stabilizing frequency is collapse. Structures that cannot hold your light truth dissolve. No drama, just alignment. The next stabilizing frequency, reclamation. You gather the power once scattered in delay, doubt, or distortion. And then the next stabilizing frequency is stabilization. Finalizing the energetic light line. You are not choosing anymore. You are living the choice. And if you are in the Meditate with Me, which the All Access can also access in the Patreon, we did a incredible Lightline meditation on Tuesday, July 1st. And I cannot recommend that meditation enough. It is just such, it was, I was so surprised at how powerful it was. Because I will admit, when it came through the day before in a meditation, I was like, Lightline, huh? And I'm like, okay. And then during the meditation, I was like, wow, Lightline. Um, yeah, I cannot recommend that meditation enough. All right. So then what the threshold really means. So let's be clear. This is the month your timeline finalizes, not by control or force, but by resonance. You don't need to go looking for new options. You are not a seeker anymore. You are the light line now. Every decision, interaction, and boundary is no longer a search for alignment. It is a demonstration of it. You've stopped consulting the map because you become the frequency that leads. This month is not about more effort, it's about full frequency coherence. So then let's talk about the energetic shift. Imagine June was about motion. You were still shifting, still embodying, still integrating light into the nervous system. But now the motion stops, the form locks in. Like concrete setting after a foundation is poured. July is when your soul's timeline cures. Not as something to figure out, but as the frequency you walk from, speak from, live from. This is not a time to speed up. This is the time to stand in what is already true. So here's 3 harmonic currents of July. Lightline lock-in. The energetic scaffolding becomes a sealed central light line. No more toggling between options. Clarity becomes embodied infrastructure. The next harmonic current, solar will and heart synchronization. Leo and Pluto harmonizing fire and depth, Saturn, Neptune, Chiron retrogrades, slow external motions, but sharpen inner truth. Your yes becomes undeniable, your no becomes sacred. And then also the next harmonic current of July, is frequency-led expression. Uranus, in terms of also then Mercury, like they're all coming into it. They're working to then support clearing communication pathways. Your nervous system becomes a transmission line for soul truth, my friends. That's right. And just to give some more information on that, Leo season begins July 23rd, and then it goes through August, like August 22nd, and then July 7th, 2025, Uranus enters Gemini. And then by the end of the month, Mercury retrograde will be in Cazimi on July 31st. And so basically, with this, then the harmonic current in regard to the frequency led expression, with all of this, with Uranus enters Gemini, Mercury Cazimis clears communication paths. And then it really then supports in terms of your nervous system becoming a light transmission line for soul truth. So for soul truth. And then your words as Aurelia, soul aligned higher self, Aurelius is sharing your words no longer describe the light truth, they release it. So it really supports then in terms of communication in regard to into some of these aspects that are happening. Okay, so then from overwhelm to orientation. So let's just talk about what also has been going on. So if you felt confusion, fatigue, or energetic pressure in leading into this month or in the past couple months, there's just been a really big clearing, and it has to do with the final clearing of non-coherent scaffolding. And now the field simplifies, not because it became easier, but because you stopped trying to make yourself smaller than what you already are. So, with that, then, what's actually happening in July 2025 from Oversoul Saharial in full alignment with Soul Aligned Higher Self Aurelia and the Collective Guidance Light Team? You are crossing the threshold from clarity into coherence. This is not a month of seeking. It's a month of structurally living what has already been revealed. The internal frequency scaffolding you've been stabilizing since March now becomes your lived energetic architecture. This is coherence, not concept. The soul timeline is no longer potential, it is active. You're not standing at the edge of possibility. You're moving within a structure your soul has already chosen. July finalizes a vibrational selection and brings it into physical alignment. The inner yes and no must match your outward motion. Illusion is unhooking. As retrogrades sweep through the field and compression completes, false projections, identity overlays, and timeline entanglements dissolve. July is the clearing of the fog, not because you're looking harder, but because you're no longer carrying distortion in your body. Embodiment is now magnetic, not efforted. You don't have to push, you have to align. The structures, conversations, and soul designed invitations coming in now are responding to your frequency, not your hustle. This is light led alignment. Okay, so what you might be feeling this month at certain times, sudden clarity around what is no longer negotiable, less tolerance for misalignment, but greater compassion for past versions of self. Fatigue from compression clearing, followed by the unexpected surges of true energy. And I will say that fatigue is, whew, it is no joke. Whew. So if you feel tired and you're being called to rest, let yourself rest, because you could be going through the fatigue from a compression clearing. Also, what you might be feeling is a sense that your timeline has already been selected and the work is to keep pace, not to search. And then also nervous system sensitivity to illusion, projection, and anything forced. And then here's a key soul message from Oversoul Sahariel. You are not meant to carry all timelines. You're not meant to attain every version of yourself. The multiverse narrows now into coherence, not as a limitation, but as liberation. Your soul has chosen. And with that choice comes the freedom to embody, the clarity to move, and the quiet strength to say no to everything that does not belong. You do not need to convince the world. You only need to become the resonance your soul has anchored. This is not just the month of light, it is the month of light lived. That's the end of that light transmission. And then here are some anchor phrases for the field. I am the light line. My clarity is not a concept, it is a frequency. The wave is complete. The spiral holds me now. I no longer question the light truth I carry. I live from it. I'm not becoming anymore. I have become. So those are some anchor phrases that can support you. And then the cosmic colors for July 2025 are opalescent ice white, which is lightline precision, mimicry, collapse, and soul truth anchoring. And then the next one is the quartz blue ray, oversoul sovereignty, spine alignment, and direction reclaimed. So next one is solar citrine, will clarity, performance release, and embodied momentum. And the next one is smoky violet amethyst, psychic clearing, auric strength, and subtle field purification. And then the next one is iridescent rose gold flame, compassion detachment, boundary grace, and heart throat coherence. And if you are in the Inspiring You Patreon, the colors are they're obsolete ice white, and then it's layered with the violet, the smoky violet amethyst, and then it is layered also then with aspects of the Blu-ray for the text. So I actually worked with the guides on creating it in terms of the colors, and then the graphic cards are crystalline based as well. So that actually was a really fun project to do with the guides. All right. So, July 2025, let's talk about the Earth Star and the solar line update. And this is, again, a light transmission from Oversoul Sahariel aligned with Pure Source Light. July does not initiate a new anchoring, it completes a structural lock in where June laid the crystalline infrastructure for full body light coherence. July finalizes the energetic click between Earth Star, solar line, and soul chosen timelines. So this is not conceptual grounding, it is structural resonance. And so then the Earth Star finalization, anchoring the light timeline you already chosen. In July, the Earth Star Chakra completes its merge with the light coded Earth grid that matches your current soul vibration. So that matches your current soul vibration. So this means you may feel a sudden final break, maybe from people, roles, or systems that no longer reflect your frequency. Grounding may not feel like heaviness now, it might feel like clarity and non negotiable light truth. The Earth Star no longer just connects you to place, it connects you to your own divine trajectory. Signs of this recalibration may include hip and lower back pressure, energetic shocks through feet, ankles when light truth is avoided, emotional clarity emerging after walks, movement, or barefoot contact with the earth. I can't tell you how many times in the last couple months the guides are like, please go outside and go barefoot and connect to earth. Um, which now in the grander sense, it all makes sense because of, just all the information that's coming through about the Earth Star, et cetera, et cetera. And anyway, so this is the phase where you become the landing pad for the soul timeline already chosen. Okay, so then also the solar line lock-in. You are the structure now. In July, the solar line running from the soul star to the earth star completed its harmonic recalibration. The spine, the diaphragm, and the pelvic bowl now stabilize as the central resonance rod of your being. Key recalibrations. The solar plexus and crown begin operating in unison, so decisions are less about thought and more about knowing. Your back body becomes a broadcasting tower for light truth. You may feel shifts in your shoulder blades, jaw, back heart, or sacral cradle. The light line threading between the chakras tighten, meaning when one center shifts, the whole system now responds as a unified field. This is not ascension energy, it is architectural embodiment. So this is not ascension energy. And they actually, the guides did say when I was channeling this, they said, like, please put it in quotes. So this is not ascension energy, it is architectural embodiment. The question is no longer what is coming in. The question is, can you stay in full integrity with what already arrived? So, can you stay in full integrity with what already arrived? You're no longer being wired for potential, you're being stabilized for embodiment. So, then, moving on then to July 25, physical and energy body. So, July does not ask your body to prepare, it asks your body to embody. The cellular field is undergoing structural coherence to match the soul's timeline of choice. This is not about subtle alignment anymore. This is the anchoring of light truth in form. Every system, nervous system, your nervous system, muscular, lymphatic, hormonal, is recalibrating to support the lived architecture of soul-led reality. The solar line, the soul star to the earth star, which is the solar line, the solar star to the earth star, is finalizing its signal stabilization, especially through the spine, solar plexus, and the back heart. You may feel surges of alignment or short waves of fatigue as old energetic scaffolding falls away. This is not regression, it's structural reordering. Allow your body to feel dense, slow, or brightened in bursts. All of it is part of the coherence wave. Your nervous system may feel both grounded and ultra sensitive, signaling that it's learning how to hold frequency, not just release distortion. This is the body becoming a transmitter of soul direction, not just a receptor of spiritual input. Especially note then how your breath and diaphragm carry resonance. Shallow breath reflects outdated architecture. Expanded breath signals integration. And remember, it's just all information for us to understand where we are in experience. It's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's the business of business. So if you have shallow breath, just like, oh, that's outdated architecture that's being called to be cleared. Oh, look, I'm in expanded breath right now. I'm in integration. Wow, interesting. So there's no judgment on it. It's just about information and how you use it. The Earth Star is holding its line more fully than it has all year. You may feel a pull to clean your space, simplify, move with rhythm, or return to body-based practices. This is which I, as I'm sharing this, I'm like, oh my God. I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna there's some body-based practices and I'm gonna sign up for some classes. And I haven't felt this pull to go to actual organized classes in a long time. And I'm like, I'm going. And I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. Even though I had gotten this information a couple of days ago. Oh, the joy of humaning. Wow. Okay, so oh my God, it's just the delight of it sometimes, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is your root clarifying. So stability is not about locking in. It's about becoming resonant. My guides are like they're having a moment smiling and just in because when I'm laughing in delight too, it just brings then they just they're just showing me their joy too. And I can just feel their joy about my delight. Thank you. All right. So it's about becoming resonant with the light you now carry. June's overarching theme, the threshold of light, choosing Soul clarity over illusion is not theoretical, it's physical. It's the spine aligning, the cells updating, the voice clarifying. And as I say that, I'm like, I gotta like clear my throat. Each, as we move into it, there are 9 themes for July. Each of July's 9 themes live through the body, calling forth not only the release of false structures, but the lived coherence of soul led embodiment. Okay, common experiences you might notice in this phase for July 2025. A deepening stillness inside the body, as if the nervous system is waiting for only soul led instruction. Sudden fatigue followed by surges of clarity, your energy body's toggling between dismantling and anchoring. Spinal tension, shoulder recalibration, or back of heart soreness, indicating light truth integrating through your structural line. Pressure or tingling in the solar plexus throat and occipital ridge. These are key zones where illusion once lived and coherence now enters. A strong need to move slowly, clean your space, or speak very little. Your system is refusing input that does not match your chosen frequency. Emotional distance from past priorities, even those once that felt mission based. Clarity is making the familiar irrelevant. Intermittent nausea, neck stiffness, or third eye pressure. These are signs of mimicry, shedding, or timeline collapse. Inner calm without explanation. Your system has accepted the light truth, and now the silence becomes a frequency, not a void. Okay, let's talk about the chakras then. June. So hold on a minute. Okay, this is from Oversoul Sahariel. July recalibrates your central channel with architectural precision. The light truth that streamed through the crown and heart in June now grounds into structural alignment through the solar plexus, spine, and root. You're not just receiving the light, you're becoming its transmission architecture. So then the key chakra focal points are the solar plexus, which is then sovereign clarity, direction, and will. This chakra is being refined to hold discernment without defensiveness. The solar plexus no longer asks, what should I do? But aligns to what is mine to hold, act, and release. So watch for fluctuations in digestion, breath depth, and diaphragm tension. Your system is shedding old obligation and performance cords. The next one, they're now, sorry, I was talking about now the spinal column and inner access chakra line integration. The spine acts as the soul's resonance rod this month. Each vertebral gateway is being recalibrated to hold your oversoul's encoded light line. This isn't about posture, it's about inner stance, backbone tension. No, back body tension. Sorry about that. Back body tension, nervous system sensitivity, or sudden alignment clicks are signs of this work. So, back body tension, nervous system sensitivity, or sudden alignment clicks are signs of this work. They have talked often in the last couple of months about like listen for the click. So the spine, again, I'm gonna share this once more. The spine acts as the soul's resonance rod this month. So each vertebral gateway is being recalibrated to hold your oversoul's encoded light line. This isn't about posture, it's about inner stance. Back body tension, nervous system sensitivity, or sudden alignment clicks are signs of this work happening. So that's the spinal column and inner access, the chakra line integration. Okay, so the next chakra then is the root chakra. It's stabilizing in a new frequency of light truth based safety. So it's a new frequency of light truth based safety. Old trauma imprints tied to external validation, survival fear, or performance attachment are dissolving. You may feel physical shaking, sudden grounding fatigue, or emotional detachment as the field reorganizes beneath your feet. The next one, back of heart and throat bridge. The back heart supports the integration of quiet knowing. The throat chakra clarifies not to speak louder, but to speak cleaner. This is where light truth meets embodied voice. So you can expect then dry throat, cracking voice, or moments of silence as light truth restructures tone. Yeah. I went through a lot of that already. It was it's a very interesting process. So be patient with the process though. Be patient. And all I can say is definitely rest when you're called to. All right. The next one, Soul Star to Earth Star line, solar line of truth. The full channel is finally finalizing in a vertical sync. July supports the unification of all 7 chakras as a single harmonic instrument of divine will in motion. The message is you don't need defined alignment. You are the alignment. Okay. So then with that, then we've kind of already talked a little bit about this, but this is a closure month in terms of our energetic finalization is real. It's not symbolic. You are in the closing band of the wave 2 of the harmonic field of becoming. This month finalizes the energetic lock in, everything initiated since February 2025. If something exits in July, it was never meant to carry your light. Let it close cleanly. And then expect sudden, no drama departures, quick, energetic snaps of timeline disentanglement, a deeper sense of peace, even while things fall away. And then that retrograde sweep that we kind of already talked about, but let's just talk about how it might show up. So that retrograde sweep that's happening in terms of Neptune, Saturn, Mercury, Chiron, in terms of all stationing retrograde this month, your field is being stripped of false orientation. The retrograde pattern this month is not personal punishment. It is a cosmic vacuum. So timelines, programs, emotional anchors that were still subtly connected to old identity are being removed. And this can show up as mental fog when trying to figure it out. Emotional neutrality, not numbness around once charged events. A deep inner pull to pause, simplify, and stop trying to explain yourself. So let the field declutter you. Let the field declutter you. The next part is then you are a stabilizer in structural coherence. And with that, it may feel quiet. After months of upgrades, July's frequency feels more internal and structured. You're not waiting for something to arrive. You are learning how to live from what already is here. This may feel like emptiness with peace, not despair. Decreased, I will say it's a little it's a little weird like when you're like for like wait, what? I feel this emptiness and you're like, "Wait. Oh wait, but there's peace." So it might take a moment for your human, and that's why you just have to like name it. So the guides like named it for me and I was like, "Oh, okay." Um so it's you might feel emptiness with peace, not despair. Decreased urgency to do decreased urgency to do or share. A new inner rhythm forming, more sustainable, less reactive. So this is not stalling, it is structural harmonization. The next one is grief may arrive around versions of you that cannot cross the threshold. Because July is the threshold of light, anything tied to mimicry, distortion, or outdated expression will begin to fall away, even if it once helped you survive. So you may grieve how hard you tried before, who you became in order to belong, a version of yourself that never felt safe to rest. Let the grief breathe, then release into the light. You're not abandoning yourself, you're coming home. And then the next one is embodiment is the new interface. Words are secondary now. Your field is speaking first. Instead of explaining your values or justifying your choices, you'll feel a pull to say less and be more. A natural magnetism or repulsion in relationships without emotional drama. A new energetic interface where frequency speaks before language. This is the soul's interface, walk in coherence. And when I say, like, when it was just said about like relationships, a natural magnet or repulsion, there's no judgment in it. It's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's the business of business. But your body may tell you, like, if you do muscle testing and you note that when it's a no for you, your body goes back and it feels like, wow, that's a big repulsion of it going back. It's not in judgment of the situation, the person, the relationship. It's not in judgment. It's just something may have come to completion and there is either a natural magnetism or you're being moved back as like a to tell you that it's complete without emotional drama. There's no emotional drama. It's just it's either magnetized to move forward or it is in completion. So again, this is the soul's interface, walk in coherence. And then here's a core integration mantra from Oversoul Sahariel. There is nothing to prove. There is only alignment to live. I carry the light now. I choose coherence, not complication. Take a nice deep breath on that. And then here's July's invitation. This month asks, will you stop dimming what you already know to be true just to match the old field? Will you stop doubting yourself every time the outside world seems to question what you feel inside? Your soul already made the choice. Now let July seal it. Let this month be your timeline. Let this be the month your timeline becomes unshakable. Not because you proved it, but because you finally stopped leaving it. Take a nice deep breath on that. All right, now we're going to move into theme 1, the threshold of light truth, choosing soul clarity over illusion. So we are entering July not to discover clarity, but to live from it. This is not a search, this is a stance. So let's break that open clearly, because it's not just a beautiful idea, it's a very real energetic architecture shift. July marks the moment when the internal scaffolding you've been building, especially since the start of 2024, becomes your structural coherence. Think of all the times you said, I think this is my light truth, and then second guessed it. That wobble, that hesitation, that tension between knowing and acting. That's what ends here. This month is not inviting you to figure it out. It's saying, you already know. Now embody what you know. So this theme is called the threshold of light truth because the clarity your soul is no longer, because the clarity of your soul is no longer optional. So the theme is called the threshold of light truth because the clarity of your soul is no longer optional. You cannot carry distortions and remain coherent. You cannot bend to old identities and still hold resonance. That means this month might feel like confrontation at first, but it's actually liberation. Liberation from mixed signals, from energetic double binds, from performing safety while suppressing light truth. You'll notice this especially in situations that used to feel almost aligned, but now feel heavy or fake. Conversations that once drained you will now feel impossible to continue without betraying yourself. Your nervous system won't let you go back. That's because clarity is now structure in your field. You don't just know your light truth, you're being welded into alignment with it. And that changes how you move. It changes what you allow. It changes who can walk with you. And let's be very real about what this might bring up. And just holding a space of compassion for this, y'all. Because let me tell you, in the last couple of months, I have been going through such a process of just clearing, and so much grief has come up. And so this is what could be very real of what it might bring up. You might grieve the roles that required you to be vague. You might grieve the roles that required you to be vague. And so if you feel any grief and you're feeling called to cry, let yourself release it. You may feel guilt for walking away from people who can't walk in your clarity. And that guilt may also have some sadness, or maybe there's some anxiety about understanding this. Let yourself process, use your tools. You may even temporarily doubt your own knowing because it no longer asks for consensus to feel true. But here's the actual threshold. You are no longer referencing reality through other people's timelines. You are referencing it through your soul's resonance. That is what the guides mean when they say light truth. It's the signal your soul broadcasts when it's not diluted. And the moment you begin living from that frequency, living from that light truth, illusion begins to unhook. Not because you fight it, but because you no longer need it to keep you safe. So, what does this theme require then? What does this theme require? It requires fidelity. It requires fidelity. It requires internal honesty. And it requires that you let your light truth shine through. And it also requires that you let your truth rise up. And that in this experience of humaning, soul embodying, that there may be things that come up that need to be processed. So it requires that you let your truth cost you something, not your peace, but maybe your proximity to distortion. Maybe your access to environments that fed you but drained you. Maybe the comfort of not being questioned. And what will you receive in return for processing, for moving through this, for allowing your light to shine through? What you receive through this is stability, frequency clarity, soul resonance, and unshakable self-trust. It is not an easy process to go through at times. As you are clearing illusion, it may feel uncomfortable. I will say, though, moving through it and coming to the other side, that stability, frequency, clarity, soul resonance, and unshakable self-trust, whew, it is, in my experience, well worth the effort and the process of it. It's not easy, though, at times. I know sometimes we want to think like high vibing and all that, like I'm high vibing, woohoo, my soul is like embodied. It's like yes and no. Like there are moments though when you're human, there's a clearing process that might be happening. So be kind to your human, lots of compassion, use your tools. And that's also why we're going to be doing the dowsing to support as well. If you're in the all access level, as well as the paid podcast. So what you receive in return is stability, frequency, clarity, soul resonance, unshakable self-trust, and that becomes the platform for the entire rest of this month's movement. This is the threshold you must cross before anything else will hold. So that's the threshold. Stability, frequency, clarity, soul resonance, unshakable self-trust. That is the threshold you must cross before anything else will hold. Sometimes I'll hear people talk about like wanting to shift timelines, wanting to clear from one, getting to another. I'm in a new timeline. A timeline can't hold if you're not able to be stable or in frequency clarity or soul resonance or unshakable self-trust. So, with that then, be patient with yourself as if you are transitioning and you're moving through this process. Be kind, double down on the compassion, and use your tools, what is calling to you. And with that then, if you are in the Inspiring You Patreon, the all access level, there will be micro practices that will be attached to the full transcript of the July energy forecast, because y'all, it is much longer than what I'm going to be putting out. And so if you're interested in that transcript, that's part of the Inspiring You Patreon all access. All right, so we begin this month here not asking for clarity, but living as it. And from here, we're going to move into the unraveling of what gets cleared when the illusion can no longer hold. So then with that, we're going into then theme 2 of the July 2025 energy forecast, unraveling the echoes, releasing the cycle of repeating realities. You're not stuck, you're standing in an echo. The pattern is repeating, you're witnessing its final unraveling. That is something that my oversoul Sahariel shared with me when I was in a moment a couple weeks ago. Sahariel shared, you're not stuck, you're standing in the echo. The pattern isn't repeating, you're witnessing its final unraveling. I was like, oh, it doesn't feel so great. Doesn't feel like I'm in that final, like, woo. But once I did cross that threshold, woohoo, and released, I felt great. Humaning is delightful, isn't it? At times. All right, so let's translate that into real grounding aspects. This theme, unraveling the echoes, releasing the cycle of repeating realities, this theme arises immediately after you step into light truth. Once you've crossed the threshold of clarity, the field starts to reorient. But it doesn't all fall away at once. What you often feel as stuck is really the final echo loop of old energetic pattern. So what you often feel as stuck is really the final echo loop of an old energetic pattern. This is crucial to understand. July is not showing you that you're failing to grow. It's showing you the exact energetic reverberation that used to run in your field and now no longer has power. So it's showing you the exact energetic reverberation that used to run in your field and now no longer has power. So the mistake people make here is interpreting the echo as evidence that nothing's changed. But the light truth is the pattern is no longer sourcing your choices. It's just playing itself out one final time in your energetic environment, and you're standing outside of it. This is what it means to unravel the echo. You're not participating in the old trauma loop, even though it's still ringing in the field. You're not validating a false identity, even though its voice might still sound familiar. You're not choosing abandonment, even though it might still knock on the door. And this is subtle because the echo feels almost exactly like the pattern. It carries the same storyline, the same characters, the same triggers. But if you pause and check your body, you'll notice something different. You're not inside it anymore. You're watching it dismantle from your actual alignment. So this theme often brings up doubt because when the echo gets loud, it tricks the mind into thinking, I must still be broken. I must still be in the loop. But the light truth is, you are in the final stage of a disentanglement. So how do you work with this theme then? First, you name the echo. Don't try to fix it. Second, ask, is this trying to hook me back into something I've already released? Third, re-anchor into your actual frequency choice. That's no longer mine. And anchor into your actual frequency choice. So in daily life, this might look like feeling pulled toward an old coping strategy, but realizing you don't need it, being tested by someone who represents a former dynamic and not collapsing into old roles, getting emotionally activated, but not noticing that you have the space and skill to self-regulate without abandoning your light truth. This is where the wave dissolves. The story no longer defines you. The energetic architecture that once held the pattern, it's collapsing, and you are now walking outside the loop. So if there's one phrase you can remember from this theme, let it be this. This isn't a pattern returning. It is a pattern unraveling, because I'm no longer the one who lived inside it. So with that then, as we walk beyond the echo, we also start to feel the return of something deeper, something forged by the soul, not shaped by survival. And that brings us into then the next theme, soul forged power. Theme 3, soul forged power, reclaiming energy from false identities and old masks. So this is not the kind of power that's built from projection, from validation, or from dominance. This is not about empowerment as image. This is soul forged power, the power that arises when you stop trying to be powerful and instead allow what's real to remain after all the masks fall away. In July, this theme arrives like an energetic mirror. It doesn't show you who you're becoming. It shows you what was never really you to begin with. You may feel layers of past identity surfacing, not to return, but to release, not to be reactivated, but to be returned to source. What's surfacing now is any structure you once built to protect your true energy, the performer, the fixer, the strong one, the mystic who hides their doubt, the leader who bypasses their exhaustion. These were never your essence. They were masks you wore to move through timelines that no longer exist. And this month, the soul says, no more energy to the false self. So this theme brings a specific task. Wherever you used performance to be safe, bring presence. Wherever you used explanation to be validated, bring clarity. Wherever you used strength to hide your tenderness, bring coherence. This is a moment of massive energy reclamation, because every mask, no matter how spiritual, noble, or intelligent, requires maintenance. And maintaining a mask consumes life force. When you release it, the life force comes back online, not just in your emotional field, but in your body, your creativity, your capacity to feel joy and light truth at the same time. You might notice this theme showing up in real time through relationships where your old role no longer fits and you feel exposed in your light truth. Work expressions that once made sense, but now feel performative or hollow. Movements where you don't know how to be without the old costume, and your nervous system trembles as the new calibration sets in. This is normal. You're not losing your power. You're shedding the version of it that costs too much to carry. So what does soul forged power actually feel like? It's not a surge, it's a steadiness. It's not about being impressive, it's about being real. It doesn't push, it doesn't perform, it doesn't need to be seen to know its worth. Soul forged power walks into the room and doesn't try to shift the room, because it knows its own center is already anchored in light truth. Let this theme support you in calling your power home. no longer broadcast for performance, no longer externalize for recognition. Let your frequency hold the field, not your effort. And here's an anchor phrase to speak out loud to support you at any time if you wish. I do not need to prove my power. I do not need to explain my light truth. My energy is no longer available to identities I no longer live inside. Take a nice deep breath there. All right. We're going to go to theme 4, y'all. The clarity corridor. Embodying and living light truth of your sacred yes and aligned no. Y'all, this is where theory ends and embodiment begins. You've already crossed the threshold of light truth. You've already disentangled from repeating patterns. You've already reclaimed energy from false identities. And now you stand in what the guides call the clarity corridor, where your internal structure begins to translate into external behavior. This corridor is not metaphorical, it is energetic. It is the living field where your soul's decisions begin to walk through the world as actions, boundaries, language, and choice. What does that actually look like? It looks like saying yes only when you are sourced and know where you are split. So it looks like you're saying, when you're saying yes, when you are fully sourced, not when you are split. It looks like recognizing when your frequency drops the moment you say something that doesn't match your knowing. It looks like holding clarity, not as a concept, but as an operating system. This is a major soul rite of passage. In previous cycles, you may have gained aspects from insight, yet still acted out of fear. You may have known what was true, but said the opposite to avoid rupture or rejection, or maybe you stayed silent. You may have waited for others to agree before following your own light. But the clarity corridor doesn't allow for delay. Your nervous system is now too calibrated to falsehood. When you speak against your light truth, your body will feel it. When you violate your own knowing, the cost will register immediately, physically, emotionally, energetically. This isn't punishment, it's precision. The field is simply no longer buffering your distortion. You asked for alignment. Now the field delivers the conditions in which anything misaligned becomes instantly visible. That's right, friends. So how do you walk the clarity corridor? Well, you slow down your speech, you stop reacting, you check your system before you choose. And here you can ask, am I choosing from pressure or peace? Am I choosing from pressure or peace? Am I speaking to preserve harmony or to honor truth? And by that, honor light truth. So am I speaking to preserve harmony or honor light truth? Is my nervous system safe enough to say what's real? If the answer is no, pause, regulate, then re-engage. So pause, regulate, and re-engage. This theme will show up in conversations where you can no longer say yes just to be liked. Invitations that feel exciting to your ego but draining to your soul. Choices that require clarity before certainty, where you must trust resonance over results. So this is where your yes becomes holy. That's also, by the way, that's from Mary Magdalene. So this is where your yes becomes holy and your no becomes sacred. So your yes becomes holy, your no becomes sacred. Because neither is based on guilt, performance, or pressure anymore. They're based on vibrational coherence. And in the architecture of soul aligned timelines, coherence is what determines flow. You don't create aligned reality by effort, you create it by walking clarity, one yes, one no, one light truth at a time. So once clarity lives in the structure, the path can begin to move. And that's where we meet then the next theme, theme 5, light-led alignment, when your soul begins to guide movement, not just reflection. And remember, this isn't really linear per se because we are multidimensional. So you could be in multiple energy forecast themes at once. In fact, you could still be processing May's energy forecast themes while also being in some of June's and in some of July's. Um, so there was a point last month where I was like, wait, where am I at? I'm still processing May and I hadn't fully entered, I forget what point I had entered June. It's really interesting to think about and by think, I mean to meditate and then download the information and just really understand we are multidimensional. So, all right, theme 5, light-led alignment, clarifying will through soul resonance. So, up until now, you've cleared, you've released, you've named light truth, you said no, stabilized clarity. But what happens after clarity? Movement, direction, action. Not from urgency, not from programming, not from performance. This is light led alignment. When you begin to move because the soul says it's time and every cell in your body agrees, this is the moment when your will no longer acts in opposition to your essence. It arises from it. It arises from it. So in earlier timelines, you may have conflated willpower with pushing. You may have tried to align by controlling outcomes, overriding your body, or bypassing emotional rhythms. But now your system knows the difference between ego driven action and light led movement. This month, the field offers a deeper attunement to the frequency of aligned will that is not about forcing forward, but about saying yes to your soul's structural instruction. The instruction that says, now is the time, this is the action, this is the path. So now is the time, this is the action, that is the path. When it's not the time, your body will feel the resistance of wisdom, not the inertia of fear. So, how do you clarify will? You listen for resonance, not reaction. You anchor into internal directive, not external momentum. You move when the movement arises from stillness. This is not passivity, it is precision. You will notice this theme showing up when a door opens, but only if you walk through it slowly and intentionally. You feel a powerful yes, but only if your body is grounded. You're asked to lead, but only from presence, not performance. So here are some things that you can ask. Is this movement arising from light truth or a bypassed fear? Can my nervous system sustain this direction without collapse or over effort? Does this step come from wholeness or from unresolved identity? The body is your resonance barometer. It will tremble when alignment is off, and it will stabilize when the timing is true. When soul resonance leads, the action may look quiet from the outside, but internally, its light encoded instruction becomes lived embodiment. This is the shift from doing things that sound aligned to becoming the alignment that acts. So let this month help you repattern your will to match your soul. Because once light leads, you no longer act to get somewhere. You act because your frequency is already there. So once you are guided from resonance, the field of reality begins to reconfigure. And that's when we enter the next theme, theme 6, creation through release, where structures dissolve and your center becomes the only true anchor. So theme 6, creation through release, letting structures fall and shift without losing your center. This is the moment in the cycle where the light you carry begins to dismantle what it cannot hold it. So this is the moment in the cycle where the light you carry begins to dismantle what cannot hold it. The structures, roles, habits, or internal scaffolding that once served your survival but no longer reflect your soul are now vibrationally incompatible. This is not collapse, this is evolution through structural dissembly. You may feel disoriented as long-standing rhythms dissolve. You may feel grief as things you built with love and care fall away. You may feel the temptation to fix, hold, or rebuild too soon. But this month is not about fixing, it is about creating space. Creation in this theme begins with release. When you allow something to fall consciously, you let it complete its frequency. You honor what it was and simultaneously release what it cannot become. This is where your relationship to uncertainty is recalibrated. You're no longer asked to avoid it. You're invited to anchor inside it. The soul doesn't fear the unknown, it creates through it. So as timelines collapse or identities soften, or you're learning the art of holding your center, not because you're in control, but because you're in light truth. Ask. Here's what you can ask. Am I trying to preserve something simply because it's familiar? Am I resisting change that my soul has already initiated? Is this structure asking to be renewed or released entirely? You will know it's time to release when you keep trying to energize something and it won't move. You feel like you're shrinking to stay inside a container. You realize the version of you that built this reality no longer exists. You realize the version of you that built this reality no longer exists. And so let's just take a moment then with all of this, because I cannot say this enough at this point. This month isn't about fixing, it is about creating space. And creation in this theme begins with release. When you really truly allow something to fall consciously, you let it complete its frequency. And I know that I'm repeating myself here, but this is really important to start processing and allowing yourself to shift into the consciousness of it. When you really honor what was and simultaneously release what it cannot become, that is where your relationship to uncertainty is recalibrated. You're no longer asked to avoid it. You're invited to anchor inside it, because the soul doesn't fear the unknown. It creates through it. So friends, as timelines collapse, identities may soften or soften. You're learning the art of holding your center, not because you're in control, but because you're in light truth. So the questions to ask: am I trying to preserve something simply because it's familiar? Am I resisting change that my soul has already initiated? Is this structure asking to be renewed or released entirely? And you'll know when it's time to release when you keep trying to energize something and it won't move. You feel like you're shrinking to stay inside a container. There was a point when I worked in reality TV that I knew it was complete and I was done in that experience. It took me another couple of years though. And I could feel I like trying to energize something and it won't move. You feel like you're shrinking as you stay inside of a container. I felt contained. And it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's business of business. This is a humaning. We're humaning. We're a light in physical form. But I share some of my examples to let you know it's like, we're here to learn. And so, and I did know when I was going through those 2 years, I kept saying I'm done working in TV, but this might be my last show. It's just my last show. There was like many last shows in 2 years. um, and then you also know it's time to release when you realize the version of you that built this reality no longer exists. So you realize the version of you that built that reality no longer exists. And so this is the death before birth phase of soul aligned manifestation. That's right, soul aligned manifestation. But unlike past cycles, you're not collapsing into nothingness. You're restructuring into coherence. You're letting go with your center intact. You're not abandoning yourself to rebuild. You're allowing light to lead the reconfiguration. And with that, with a lot of compassion, I share the next part. There is pain in this stage, but it is sacred pain. The ache of what you no longer need leaving your system. So, what is true can arise unblocked. You're not failing, you're falling into alignment. And once what no longer really serves dissolves, the inner core becomes clearer. That is when your system begins to stabilize from within and you build the new from the inside out. So that is then moves us into the next theme, theme 7, the spine of the soul, building the inner architecture for divine movement. So once the external structures dissolve, the question becomes, what do you stand from? What do you move from? What holds you when nothing else does? So theme 7, the spine of the soul, building the inner architecture of divine movement. This theme marks the rebuilding phase, not externally, but internally. July invites you to activate the inner spine of your soul, the vibrational axis that holds your light truth upright even when everything else shifts. The spine of the soul is not your physical spine, though it informs it. It is the energetic vertical where your soul aligned higher self and earth self meet, where your soul stream anchors through the body and becomes movable structure. Light in physical form. This is not a month to rush forward. It is a month to build wisely from within. You are not asked to construct something externally yet. You're asked to become the architecture that your future self will stand on. Where external clarity feels delayed, inner stability must lead. This is where your nervous system learns to mirror the coherence of your soul, not the chaos of the external world. So, where do you derive your movement from? Impulse, pressure, external cues. This theme asks you to stop responding to urgency and instead respond to alignment. The soul doesn't move because of pressure. The soul moves because its structure is complete. This month, you may feel like you're in a strange stasis, aware of what's falling, but unsure of how to begin again. That's because you are still being built. Your inner scaffolding, your light, truth, boundaries, clarity, choice is being realigned to hold more light. You are restoring inner vertical clarity, no more bending for others. Core energetic sovereignty, not outsourcing decision making. Movement from soul signal, not strategy. You're becoming your own source spine. Once the internal spine is in place, movement will flow with ease, not force. So here are some questions. Where am I outsourcing my momentum to external timelines or people? Do I feel safer in urgency? Do I feel safer in urgency than I do in clarity? Do I feel safer in urgency than I do in clarity? What does it mean to move only when the soul says now? So take some time to reflect on those questions, and I will put those in the full notes on Patreon because I'm just limited on YouTube and the podcast. So this month then doesn't require action for the sake of movement. It requires anchoring for the sake of embodied direction. So when you walk from the spine of the soul, your steps are small, but your impact is infinite. Infinite. The body becomes the temple, the spine becomes the axis, the movement becomes divine. So then, with that, then, my friends, once your inner spine is reformed, once you stand from your own soul, you realize that you no longer have to fill every space, answer every pull, or rush into what's next. That's when the power of spaciousness arrives. And that's where we're going next, theme 8. The invitation of spaciousness, holding the field without panic or projection. So after the spine of the soul is reformed, a new threshold appears, not of movement, but of presence. This is not a void. It is not a waiting room. It is a sacred pause field, a living frequency that tests whether you can remain present without forcing the future. Spaciousness is not the absence of something. It is the presence of clarity before the form arrives. Most timelines collapse when the human mind tries to fill space prematurely because the nervous system interprets stillness as a threat. But in this theme, you're invited to untangle from false urgency and remain in your field without projecting, predicting, or panicking. And this space is holy. It's where the next reality forms itself around your stability, not your scrambling. I'm also smiling. If you're listening to it on the podcast, you may not know I'm smiling because I'll probably put the audio up, but I'm smiling because whenever I'm sharing now, the word holy is not a word that as Henry I've used, but Mary Magdalene is one of my guides and has come in really clearly in terms of some of my channeling sessions. So when I just shared the space is holy, I could feel Mary Magdalene's presence. And I'm smiling at that because it's, so anyway, I just wanted to share that. So the space is holy. It's where the next reality forms itself around your stability, not your scrambling. So the soul does not need a rush. It needs room. So I'm just going to repeat all of this together. This space is holy. It's where the next reality forms itself around your stability, not your scrambling. The soul does not need a rush. It needs room. And the way you hold this room with grace or grasping determines the next harmonic. And so the way you hold this room with grace or grasping determines the next harmonic. Can you let the timeline come to you without needing to speed it up? Can you hold the field like a mother holds a child, calm, open, unpressured? Or if you are a caretaker to animals or whatever resonates for you for that, can you hold an animal you care for or whatever resonates for you, calm, open, unpressured? When you hold your field in clarity, the outer world has no permission to override you. And that is what this month teaches. Not that you're stuck, not that you're slow, but that you are being tested in your capacity to remain present without collapsing inward. Let this spaciousness be your proof of growth. Let the gap between action and clarity stretch you into deeper coherence. Because if you can stay here without panic, your system is proving its readiness to live from soul stability and not survival programming. I am going to say that once more. Because if you can stay here without panic, your system is proving its readiness to live from soul stability, not survival programming. So here are some reflection questions. Am I interpreting this space as failure instead of preparation? Where do I fill the silence too quickly just to feel in control? What would it feel like to breathe here without demanding what's next? Let this theme be the field of unpressured receiving. Let your system learn that stillness is not a threat. It is the soul's sacred prelude. And then once you've proven that you can hold the field without force, fear, or forecasting, something profound emerges. A quiet inner alignment forms not through what you do, but through who you've become. And that then brings us to the next and the final theme for July. Theme 9, unified choice, embodying and living the timeline already selected by your soul. There comes a moment when all other paths fall away, not because they disappeared, but because you no longer resonate with them. And that moment is now. Unified choice is not made with the mind. It is lived through the frequency of your field. It is not a new decision. It is a clarified expression of the choice your soul has already made. The human doesn't have to keep asking, am I on the right path? Because the body already is the path. You are no longer finding your way. You are becoming the timeline itself. So you are becoming, so you're no longer finding your way. You are becoming the timeline itself. This is not the time to splinter. This is not the time to test every possible option just to prove your freedom. Your soul has already selected. Now the body must align. That means no more lingering in hesitation fields. No more pretending you don't know. When you unify with the timeline your soul chose, life starts responding to your clarity, not your confusion. This is the embodiment of light truth, where your boundaries reflect your clarity, where your actions mirror your integrity, where your choices are not rehearsed, they're lived. And this is what July closes with, then, in regard to this, a sealed timeline field that reverberates with your soul signature, one path, one resonance, one embodied yes. And that yes, held clearly, reshapes everything around you. So here are questions to integrate. Where am I still pretending to be uncertain because it's safer than choosing? What would my life look like if I fully embody what I already know is true? Can I trust that the timeline I'm on is the one my soul selected and stop trying to toggle between paths that no longer match my frequency? Let your nervous system learn. I do not have to seek anymore. I'm here. I'm it. I'm in it. So let your nervous system learn, recode here. I do not have to seek anymore. I'm here. I'm it. I'm in it. Let's take a nice deep breath there. That is the 9 themes of the July energy forecast for 2025. And here is a closing light transmission then from the unified Oversoul stream with Oversoul Sahariel, Aurelia, and the collective guidance light team. The field has stabilized. The scaffolding has become structure. The light is no longer something you channel. It is something you embody. As we leave you not at the beginning nor at the end, but standing in the center of a life that has already been claimed. July is not asking you to find your light truth. It is asking you to live it without apology, projection, or delay. The path is not behind you. The path is not ahead of you. The path is you. Embody it, walk it, let it lead. Take a nice deep breath. And that is the end of that light transmission. Let's take another deep breath. All right, my friends. So, with that, then, to anyone who is listening to the Inspiring You podcast or Inspiring You YouTube channel, or watching, if you will, the public aspects, thank you for joining us. And thank you to everyone for joining me for the July 2025 energy forecast. As always, my friends, may this guidance support you in living from soul clarity, grounded presence, and embodied light truth. So if you're listening to the public version of this offering, once again, thank you so much for being here. May this light transmission support your clarity, coherence, and soul-led embodiment in the weeks ahead. For everyone else who's staying on for the dowsing, for the all access, or the Inspiring You paid podcast, stay settled, stay present. We're continuing in just a moment. Let your breath anchor you. Let your soul stay open. We're going to be moving into the next layer together. We'll be going into the full dowsing energy healing session. But once again, that portion is exclusively available to the All Access members on Patreon, as well as the paid podcast subscribers. If your soul feels called to receive the multidimensional support, the clearing, the alignment, the aligning, and the restoring your field in harmony with this month's energetic frequencies, you are warmly invited to join us. You'll find the link to subscribe in the show notes. And so with that, my friends, to everyone listening to the public version, until next time, may your path be clear, your breath be steady, your light anchored. You are the coherence. You are the calibration. You are the calibration. You are the coherence. You are the calibration. You are the resonance. Thank you for being here.